Hey everyone, thanks for checking us out here on YouTube. If you like these deck techs, you like these videos, go ahead and hit subscribe. That really helps us out. And if you really want to get involved, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew, where you can help make the show directly and actually help us build decks. Get in our Discord. Help us talk about what is going on and what cards we should use and things like that. It's really big help, and we've been doing it a lot lately and having a blast in there. But without further ado, let's get to today's show.
Okay. Here's the deck. We're brewing around Gerrard Weatherlight Hero. We got a Boros Commander in C19, and I do think that we've got some new room to brew around. I was very excited to tackle this. And I'm present to you Gerard, sort of a loop-de-loop, bit of a combo deck. I'm excited to it. So what are we doing? We've got Gerrard Weatherlight Hero, 2 red-white, legendary human soldier, 3/3 first strike. When Gerard dies, exile it, then return to the battlefield all artifact and creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. So I did some digging on the rules, and it is possible... Well, you know what? So before we get to our next segment, I want to just say that we are certainly trying to do a lot of recursive abilities to spam ETB effects and artifacts that like to sacrifice, and a little extra ally synergy in there as well. But let's get to the NA to moves.
Working on a
Neat. Right. So this is where I got cut. I kind of changed gears before. The neatest move is the fact that the rules of Commander. So here's how we're going to do this. Gerard has to die for this to work. And in Commander, we normally don't let our commanders die, but we will let Gerard die. Ooh. Gerard's ability goes on the stack, which says everything's coming back. But part of that effect that is now on the stack is that Gerard exiles himself from the graveyard. At that point, that's when we save Gerard. We say, I'm not putting Gerard in exile, I'm putting Gerard in my command zone. Right. However, there is a little bit of time while Gerard is sitting in your graveyard with that ability on the stack that we can interact with him. Here is our first neat moves. Ooh. Andy, would you like to read them?
Yes, please. This one is Angelic Renewal. 1 and a white for an enchantment that says whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may sacrifice Angelic Renewal. If you do, return that card to the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So that means exactly what it says, right? Like exactly what you were saying. There's that trigger that's now in the stack where we can return them to the battlefield.
Yeah, both of these triggers try to go at the same time. We can stack them in whatever order we want. And as long as we put Angelic Renewal's trigger before Gerard's exile and bring back trigger, Gerard comes back to the battlefield. Then his ability resolves. Everybody else comes back to the battlefield and says, hey, didn't you just die a second ago?
Hey, what happened?
He's waiting for the team.
I was here the whole time. I left very briefly. Next is brought back. It's the white from it's a white instant from M20 that says choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Return them to the battlefield tapped.
Works on Gerard.
And then we also have Graceful Reprieve. 1 and a white for an instant that says when target creature dies this turn, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control.
So we have to target Gerard before he dies. So there's a little risk in here. Your opponents can remove Gerard before this happens. But unless they're exiling Gerard, we still get all of his bring back triggers, and perhaps Gerard goes to the command zone. That's also not the worst. These are just the sneaky ways to do it.
Yeah, so like how much of a disaster is it for this deck if Gerard dies from like a normal removal spell? So let's say.
Well, I mean, it's Boros, so our ramp isn't too strong. However, let's talk about this next set of neat move cards.
Sure.
So we're running artifacts that sacrifice themselves, because these will also come back when Gerard does his trick. So Hedron Archive is the 4 mana rock that taps for 2, and we can pay 2 tap sack to draw 2 cards. We've also got Renegade Map. It's becoming one of my new faves. I really do like this card. It comes into play tapped for 1 mana, but you can tap and sack it to search for a basic, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. So, again, if I know I'm about to sack Gerard or something, I'll just crack this, get my basic, and then Gerard will do his thing, and then my Renegade Map is free to get another basic from the deck. And also Mindstone classic 2 tap for a colorless, or 1 and tap sack it to draw a card. This is another way we can get artifacts in the graveyard for Gerard's Loop. So here are ways we're getting extra mana, and we can use we can use them to draw cards when we're not doing it for mana. So to answer your question in the longest way possible, it's not the worst because we tend to have a lot of land. Like, we're able to play a land almost every turn because of these and other artifacts. So and a little bit of ramp this way, a little bit of card draw. We've got a couple of creatures that tutor up planes and put planes onto the battlefield.
Right.
Solemn Simulacrum's in here, as well as Burnished Heart. Burnished Heart will be brought back by Gerard. So, these are great way. Like, so the ramp is not that. It feels better than a typical Boros deck for that reason.
I like that. That sounds great. That's certainly helping with one of the problems of a classic Boros deck.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so what's next?
Right. So now we have. So since we've got a lot of artifacts, we want to go to the graveyard. I couldn't resist putting in a little bit of a package to help with this. Do you want to take this
guys.
group?
I love these guys. I love Gerard Scrap Savant.
Yeah.
The Planeswalker. From the Commander 2014, I believe. Anyways. He's the 3 in a red for a 3 loyalty to ready. +2, discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards. -2, sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then his -10, the ultimate. You get an emblem with whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So Gerard's ultimate really getting out ahead of Gerard and just making sure those artifacts come back anyways. But really, the thing I love about this Planeswalker, whether it's your commander or not, oh yeah, by the way, Gerard can be your commander. That's the whole thing. Is I love the card selection, and then once in a while popping off and losing a Mind Stone and grabbing some big artifact from your graveyard. Obviously, is really great.
Sure.
And speaking of that ability, Goblin Welder is where that ability comes from. It's the original card that was sort of doing this thing. So Goblin Welder is the 1 red mana for a 1/1 Goblin Artificer. It taps, and you choose target artifact. Well, okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's really clunky text. But basically, you trade an artifact from your battlefield with an artifact from your graveyard.
Yeah.
You trade up. It's sweet.
And so since we've got that package, of course we're squeezing in Spine of Ishsa. That's the 7 mana artifact that when it enters destroys target permanent. This is a great, we need some removal, and we can kind of cheat this one out sometimes with Welder or Duretti. When it is put into the graveyard, we must return it to its owner's hand. But I'll remind you of Brought Back. Brought Back can intercept this trigger. Goblin Welder can also intercept this trigger, right? Any instant speed effect that brings an artifact out of the graveyard to play can get ahead of the trigger where this wants to go back to your hand.
So my question is, so I know there's weird cases where something will pull a commander from the command zone and oops, thanks Harry, will the trigger still pulls a thing from a command zone to put it back to someone's hand or something.
Yes.
Is Spine of Ishsa one of these things where okay, I've put it back to the battlefield, but is there still a trigger on the stack that says return Spine of Ishsa to its owner's hand? It doesn't say return it from the graveyard. It just says return it.
That's a great question. That's a good question. That would be preferable.
Question. Yeah, that's a bit of a deep rules question that isn't going to be super relevant, I would imagine, but keep that in mind.
Well, in either case, you'll get it to hit the battlefield one more time, and it either goes to your hand then, which is probably pretty good because we're going to cast it again, or it stays there, which, I'm not sure which is better. I guess it depends on the game. But, let's rules experts help us out.
Help us out, please.
Okay, in addition to Spine of Ishsa, we're also running Ichor Wellspring. It's another, again, in a Boros deck, I don't mind hitting this if I can't get anything else right now to trade it up, but when it enters the battlefield or goes to the graveyard, I draw a card. So it cantrips itself, which I'm not against. It puts another artifact on the battlefield for future turns. If I can sack it somehow, that seems fair to me.
Yeah, that seems decent. I love these artifacts. These are they're pretty small effects, for the Ichor Wellspring, and there's one that does it with lands.
Mycosynth Wellspring.
Yeah.
Another example why we got lots of basics in our hand.
But it's so great. If you're recurring these things, they are Ichor Wellspring is an absolute draw engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe one of the better ones in Boros. Who knows?
I
Right?
think so.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some other good cards that we're going to be looping with Gerard here. This is a great one. Duplicant. Duplicant's just an all-star, a commander all-star. 6 mana for the 2/4 that has imprint. So whenever it enters the battlefield, you exile target non-token creature. Non-token is kind of important because sometimes you feel like there's like some weird big token and you're like, huh, weird. I always forget that I can't do that. Anyways, and as long as that card is exiled with Duplicant, as long as the card exiled with Duplicant is a creature card, Duplicant has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature card it exiled. It's also still shapeshifter. Cool rules, not important. It exiles a creature and becomes that size, basically, is all you need to know there.
Yeah, if Gerard can loop that, that's pretty great.
If we can loop that, like you're exiling things, and they do stay permanently exiled. It's not like a Fiend Hunter type of thing here. Next, we also have Durgar Hedgemage. This is one we talk about fairly often when we talk about Boros decks. It's kind of an underrated Boros card, to be honest. 2 and a hybrid Boros, so 3 in total for a 2/2 dwarf shaman. When Durgar Hedgemage enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more mountains, you may destroy target artifact, and if you control 2 or more planes, you may destroy target enchantment.
I'll remind you, with the Renegade map, with the Mycosynth Wellspring, we've got lots of plains and mountains.
Looping a hedge mage and just blowing up, 4 or more of your opponent's stuff is just going to feel great. It's basically a destroy all artifacts and enchantments for your opponents, essentially.
Eventually, yeah.
Right. And finally, Combustible Gearhulk. Combustible Gearhulk, 4 red for the 6/6 artifact creature construct. It has first strike. And then whenever it enters the battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards, and if they don't, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then Combustible Gearhulk deals damage to that player equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. So this card's great with Duretti. This card's amazing with the Goblin, what's his face? Goblin Artificer. Welder, that's it. Because you can trade this guy in and out of the graveyard for your smaller mana rocks. You can loop him with Gerard and get this ability multiple times. It's either going to be a draw engine or it's going to basically kill someone.
They probably won't let you have the cards, I think, early game. Like, I'll happily take, I'm going to guess, 5-10 damage. 10 is high. 2 lands and a 5-drop, 5 damage, no problem. But that does add up. And this is a 6/6 first strike. So that's not, that this is relevant.
And it's also feeding your graveyard for cards like Duretti and Goblin Welder. So that's obviously the smaller of the upsides. You probably want to draw those cards, but there are times when this card just deals 20 damage out of nowhere, or something, so 15 damage. Definitely seen that happen as well.
Well, and we've got another group of cards here to back us up that we want to loop. It's a set of allies. White and red are great ally colors. We've got, just to sample a few of them, we've got Lantern Scout. It's 2 and a white for a 3/2, and this is the rally version, but they all kind of work the same. Whenever this or another ally enters, all the creatures you control get lifelink until end of turn, so that's great. We've got Hero of Gomafada, 4 and a white for a similar 4/3 ally. And when this one enters, another ally, all of our creatures gain indestructible. And I'll just mention McKindy Patrol. This is the one that gives your whole team vigilance anytime an ally. So once we get this going, every new ally says things like, okay, your whole team gets menace, haste, first strike, and indestructible. Great. So then it's no problem. I'll swing out with the team. And there is an infinite combo that we can do that I did not include in the deck because I was worried about budget, but it's not that bad. I probably should have included it in the end. I just did this last minute. It's Aurelia the War Leader, 2 red, white, legendary angel, flying vigilance, haste 3/4. So whenever Aurelia attacks, for the first time each turn, untap all the creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. And so the loop involves this card, Gerard, that enchantment that brings Gerard back. I believe it was called Angelic Renewal, and a little creature called Auramancer. So as long as we have a sack outlet, it's big, it's deep, but if we
Yeah,
can,
it's pretty deep.
but if we can, so we can do our first combat, untap everybody, but before our next combat phase, like let's say the damage is done, and then we go to like our like in our new beginning of combat phase, we can sack everybody, and including Gerard, including Aurelia. Aurelia becomes a new instance, so this is the first time she's attacked this turn, so we can get another combat step. If we have a way to give everyone haste, I do have Hammer of Perforos in here. I do
You have
have
to
the
give everyone haste, or can you just, because Aurelia just has it?
I mean, it would be just Aurelia. Like, if you don't have another haste enable, it would be just Aurelia that keeps looping for haste. But the Oromancer puts the Angelic Renewal back into our hand. Gerard comes back out. We can cast Angelic Renewal. Anyway, it's complex, but it's possible.
Wow, yeah, it is from your hands to your hand. So, yeah, that is kind of complicated. That's like a 4-card combo.
Maybe
I wouldn't
more.
say, yeah, maybe even more. I wouldn't say that's, when you start to get into the 3 and 4 and 5 card combos, it's like,
Sure.
hey man, if you get that, great job. Congratulations.
There are
You
turns,
deserve
though,
to win,
right? Part of the deck hinges on having that haste ally that when it enters, it gives your whole team haste or Hammer of Perforos, because a lot of times if we have a sack outlet, we can sack our entire team, including Gerard, and then have everyone appear again, and we get to swing with everyone with first strike with a fresh set of ally triggers, like just all over the place. So that can be a pretty neat move in itself. And if you can add Aurelia to that system, we can get, if not infinite, 3 or 4 combats out of it.
Seems very cool.
Yeah.
What were the surprises and discoveries of this deck?
I was looking for sack outlets, and I found Thermopod, 4 and a red for a 4/3 slug snow creature. And you can give it haste by paying snow mana. We don't have a way to do that, but it says sacrifice a creature, add red to your mana pool. This card, if I knew it existed, it had left my brain. In Boros, sacking a creature for mana is incredible.
Oh yeah, I have I have Thermopod in my Angry Omnath deck as a sack outlet.
You know what? I gotta get one. It's a gumball.
Yeah.
It's a common, and this is an amazing way, because now we can sack our creatures for mana and cast instants, or like maybe we can do this in our first combat, our first main phase. Cast more things. If Gerard ended up going to the command zone because we had to do this the hard way, we can just hard cast him again and just keep this thing rolling. It's pretty awesome.
It's really good. Free sack outlets like this, as we've talked about in the past, like they're not making a lot of these anymore, right? We've seen they mostly appear in black. There's obviously your Ashnod's altars of the world and Phyrexian altars, but like this on a red creature, that's rare. So Thermopod is really cool. I mean, it's 5 mana, so it's not exactly cheap, but also it is a 4/3, little beater that you can occasionally get in for some damage, or it does block as well, which is nice. So I love it. And like sorry.
when you've given Thermopod haste and first strike and vigilance and indestructibility, like I'll attack with a 4/3.
Why not, right? Exactly. And like I just love being able to sacrifice this little useless creature that I have now to pay for the 1 extra mana that I needed to cast some big spell or something. It's great.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So we do have a budget report to get to. So this is where we take all the cards. We sacrifice all of our dollars, but some of them, thanks to Gerard, come right back into our wallet. So I looked at this. So I did not include Aurelia in this list because I wasn't sure. She's a bit pricey, but this deck comes in at $89. But I just, out of curiosity, I went to look on TCGplayer, and the low, like you can get this deck for $41.50 if you go through the low. If you buy slightly played versions and weirder versions, and so I don't care. If I've ordered slightly played cards. They look brand new to me.
I always I never order the top quality of card ever.
Oh yeah, give me the worst one you have.
Give me the beat up one that's hard to read with creases in it. Like I honestly don't care. I love it. That's character to me. That card's been through something. I want to see that.
So if we could probably fit an Aurelia here and still have it under $50 if we're willing to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. But even you're talking about the low, but like
Yeah. The mid is 89.
the mid isn't bad either.
No, not at all. The top cards are like predictably they're the staples of the deck. Like they are considered staples. Ashnod's Altar, fantastic mana rock. That's $6. That's not a mana rock. It's a sack outlet that gives you mana. Sword of the Animist.
Kind of like a mana rock.
I mean, that's why my brain wanted to say that. Sword of the Animist is that equipment that when you attack it puts a basic into play. It's ramp in a non-green color, so Boros decks always want this. That's $5. Solemn Simulacrum, $5 as well. Again, it's especially good here. I don't always put that in our decks because it's so ubiquitous, but if we're going to be looping it, it ramps us as well as draws us card. It's perfect in this deck.
Yeah, there's sometimes where the synergy of a card like Solemn Simulacrum is just right on point. Like obviously Solemn is just good in basically every deck, but there are certain decks where it's like, oh, this is like real nice. Like we're looping Solemn Simulacrum, you're having a blast.
Yeah.
Great. What about favorite cards?
Oh, sure. Did you have any faves from the deck?
I love, and we talked about it, I think, during the set review of this one. Let me just bring it up here.
Here's a cat.
Oh, there's
making an appearance. This is Sweetie Pie. Hey, Sweetie Pie, can you step aside?
Sweetie Pie just looks like a snowdrift just like smashed into your camera.
Sweetie Pie, look up here for the camera. Can I get you to look up here? There's
She
blue
did.
eyes.
The little blue eye. Wow. Very pretty kitty.
Now I got a bun in my face.
Yeah, now that Sean has just become a cat's tail.
Okay, I'm back.
That's great. My favorite card is from Commander 2019 is Pendant of Prosperity. The 3-mana artifact, and it says whenever it enters the battlefield it enters the battlefield under your control of an opponent of your choice. So this enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. It has the ability of pay 2 and tap to draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Pendant of Prosperity's owner draws a card. Then that player may put a land card from their hand onto the battlefield. So we talked about this in the set review, is like, what are the odds that you play this card and the person never activates it? The odds are, honestly, I think quite low, especially if you target the other Boros player or the player without blue or anything like that, right? Mono, red, whatever it is, right? Because if you just get a thing going back and forth where it's like, hey, man, it's just me and you benefiting from this. Like, if you feel like you want to like do it, go for it. I love the possibility of this card, but I also love that the possibility of this card is you pay 3 mana and nothing happens. Nothing ever happens from it. You down a card, you pay 3 mana for nothing.
I agree, but I feel one activation makes this worth it in a Boros deck.
Agreed.
I feel as long as we get one.
That's why I do like it. I think especially if you're like, look, someone else has a board state where they're in control right now, pass it off to one of your allies and let's get activating it, right? Like let's start moving. Let's get
activating. Yeah. I like it.
It's going to help them, it's going to help you. I like obviously we all know the correct move is to never activate this if someone gives it to you.
But we don't always pick the correct move.
We basically never only do the correct move. Yes. If the person in the lead and they're winning the game and they play this card, don't activate it. But you know how the tempt cycle works. Yeah. Someone's gonna do it, right?
How many times have you seen a heuristic study hit the table and didn't pay their person a card because everyone did the right thing?
It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen. If people need lands, if people want a card, they're going to do this thing. So
yeah, man.
And it's very fun for that reason. So I love Pendant of Prosperity.
Me too. My favorite card from the deck, I picked Scout's Warning. It's the 1-mana instant that cantrips to say draw cards. So already in a Boros deck, I love it. But it says the next creature card you play this turn can be played as though it had flash. Wow. So this is a great move if you're holding up some mana. Like, we're probably not going to cast Gerard until we're ready to do something with him. But if I'm holding up 5 mana, 4 for Gerard, 1 for Scout's Warning, and my opponents attack in, I can flash in Gerard and do a lot of blocks that are profitable to me, or just chump a bunch, have a bunch of things hit the graveyard, and then have them come back out from Gerard and get all those ETB effects for value again. This is a nice surprise, in my opinion.
This is a cool card. It feels like it's not really supposed to be a white ability, right? Like,
No,
this is more of a blue, possibly even green ability.
Right, it is from Future Sight, so it's got like the, those cards get weird.
Yeah, they did get weird there. That's neat, though. That's neat. The fact that it's a cantrip, too, is like, yeah, you just fire this off even if you don't have a creature and you just want to cycle it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to flash in a combustible Gear Hulk, like,
Right, for
I'll
one
do
extra
it.
mana? Yeah, no problem.
Or even strategically to flash in a Goblin Welder on someone's end step so that people
Yep.
can't remove it as easily, because that's
that's-
a high-profile target.
That's a great usage of it, because that is a card where you're like, people just get rid of it because they know how good it is.
Yeah.
But if you're just flashing it in like that, like you're at least going to get the one usage out of it, which sometimes is enough to get something crazy out of your graveyard.
Yeah.
Great card.
Anyway, that's the deck. It seems pretty fun. Like, I don't mind Boros decks. I do love them. But I think this has the kind of shenanigans that I really, really love. The only thing I wasn't able to fit in was Zada Hedron Grinder as the ally, because I just can't. There's just not enough to make that work. It's just a generic ally at that point.
Yeah, I also love an underdog. If I just turn on any game of sports, but that's not including my teams, right?
Right.
I will flip back and forth cheering for the person with the lowest score. And I've had it happen lots of times where I'll be watching basketball or something, and then the lead keeps changing, and I'm always just wanting the team who's losing to score.
Yeah, because you want the game to stay interesting.
I want it to be interesting. I want it to be cool. It's fun. It's more fun cheering for the underdog, unless it's obviously your team. But so I'm always cheering for Boros. I want Boros to do well. I want to build a Boros deck now. I don't have a Boros deck, and I'm looking. I definitely want to build, because they're doing one of the things that we've been talking about, which is making interesting commanders that aren't just centered around combat. And Gerard is certainly one of them. So, man, very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting this deck together. I think it's a really, really good one. People looking to build a Gerard deck, they're going to want to include a lot of these cards. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I might put this together in real life. Who knows? I say that about every deck, but I really do believe it.
Well, Battle of the Brews is happening every 2 weeks, so we're putting together decks in real life a lot more frequently now. And
True.
Let us know if what decks you would like to see in Battle of the Brews. Would you like to see this Gerard deck? Because we can do it. We can make it happen.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Well, then that's going to be it. So if you are loving these decks and you want to see more of them, again, hit subscribe, check out our patreon.com/commandersbrew. Go to the TCGplayer link, build your deck from there. If you live in the States, it's great. Anyways, thanks for watching this week, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.